Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this week's episode of the Author Collaborative. As always, I'll be talking to an author whose book I have recently read and enjoyed. We'll be talking about that book in detail. Hi, Nilshri. Yes, so I will be talking to the author about her latest book. Hey, The Way Home. Hi, Megha. Nice to see you. So, my guest today is Shalini Mullick, and yes, thank you for being here, Nilshri. So, we have our guest today who's Shalini Mullick. Once she's here, I will invite her and we can start the episode. Before that, let me talk to you about the guest a little more. She is coming on the show for the second time, and this is the second book that I have read of hers. Previously, I had read her short stories collection, and this is her debut novel, The Way Home, and I absolutely enjoyed reading the book. We are going to talk about this book in particular and also about her transition from a short story writer to a novel writer. So stay tuned, it's going to be a really interesting conversation. Shalini is here. Hi, Shalini. So, since she's here, let me invite her and we can begin the episode. Hopefully, there should be no glitches and you will be able to join me right away. In case there are any glitches, we'll see what we can do. Hi, Sangeeta. Okay, I think Shalini has not received my request. My guest today is Shalini Mullick. She is a doctor and an author. This is the second book that she has written and I have read, and we are going to talk about that book in detail. Do stay connected. Okay. It says you are unable to join. Let me send you a fresh invitation, Shalini. Sometimes the invitations only go through after a couple of attempts. So I am going to try again.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, wonderful. I can see you. So
Oh,
that's
great. Great.
oh, wonderful.
Great. Yeah. Hi. Thank you for having me here, Manali. Thank you so much.
Yes. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you again on the show. Before we start, can you just say a few lines about yourself to the audience?
I'm Shalini. I'm Dr. Shalini Mullick, and I'm a doctor. As some of the people watching us know, I am also a writer, and I write fiction and non-fiction both. Long form, I've written. This is my second book, The Way Home. My first book was Stars from the Borderless Sea, and I'm also a voracious reader and blogger, and I try and keep in touch with the writing community through my words.
Yes, wonderful. And I was also telling the audience that I have read both the books and I have seen your transition from a short story writer to a novelist now. And I have already loved the previous book. You know it. Let's talk about this book now, The
Thank
Way
you.
Home. I mean, it doesn't feel. First of all, it doesn't feel like it's a debut work. I mean, the way you have written it, there's so much like uh, depth in the characters in the story itself. It feels like somebody with huge experience in the writing world has written it.
Thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
one of the best things about the book is it doesn't fall in one particular genre. Like it's not a romance, it's not a thriller, it's not like a drama. Also, it's like a combination of friendship, love, drama, and the three people, the three protagonists are like they are either a part of us or they are like our friends who we have, and somewhere or the other during our lifetime we all go through the phases that the three characters are going through, where they are trying to find themselves, trying to find their purpose. They are lost, they have had some personal experiences, tragedies in their lives. due to which they are, kind of lost in their life, and they are trying to look for that purpose, or they are trying to find their old selves. And it's also how important these three people are together. Like their bond becomes so important in realizing their future. Like they are lost, they don't know what their future holds. They are even not sure about their present also. But once they come together, they are like, हाँ अब मुझे पता है मुझे आगे क्या करना है. The path ahead becomes so clear. So that's one of the best things about the book, and it does so without being preachy. That's like amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, I did. That is exactly the kind of bond that I wanted to show. And not only have all of us gone through challenges, I think all of us have found strength in our connections with other people also as human beings. So I did want that to come across. And I'm really glad that that did. And, you could feel that part of the story of the book. And, that's very important to me.
Definitely, I did. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but I do have one particular favorite character. But मुझे थोड़ा ऐसा लगा कि शायद उसको थोड़ा और limelight देते तो मुझे मजा आता, which is Neil.
Neil is my favorite too. Yeah.
He's like, like that comic relief जो अपनी life में होता है ना,
Yeah.
जो बहुत serious होने से बचा लेता है
Yeah.
हमें. He's like that
That,
kind of.
that one goofy friend which all of us have.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. But then
बच्चों अगर
that goofy friend also has their own struggles, no? Which they
yes,
hide.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, that's also one wonderful thing that, Neil is like this person who is very happy-go-lucky and he's taking care of the people around him. But उसके अंदर भी एक struggle चल रहा है, which he's not
Right.
making evident.
Right. Exactly.
So there is that depth also, which is very commendable.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so based on my reading, I have a few questions for you, and I would like for you to answer those. My first question to you is, your debut book was a short stories collection, and this is your second one, which is a novel. What difference did you feel in your writing style, and your growth as a writer from then till now? Did it make a difference? You feel that?
So the first book was also not very short stories. They were about each story was about 20,000 words. So more like a novella. I do feel that in terms of my experience, the physical part of managing the manuscript, that took a lot of my time and energy because, when you're working with such a long document and trying to edit it and move parts from here to there. So that physical part of the writing job was different. Other than that, no, I feel that, a timeline, like for this one, I consciously plotted a timeline because it needed to have that. For that also, you need the structuring and the timeline, but you don't need to do it in such a formal manner. For this, I actually did it like that these, and they have a very strong backstory. So, even that needs to match with the thing. So that, but otherwise, writing it, not really. I think we all write in bits and pieces and scenes and chapters. So, not really in the writing, this thing, but yeah, in the process, this difference was there. So,
Okay.
and
And take us to the growth. I mean, I'm sure. How much time difference was there between the release of the two books? 2 years, 3 years?
2 years and 2 months. 2 years and 2 months.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure you began writing Borderless Seed wala book much before you published it. And this one also you must have begun
Yeah,
long before you published it. So
definitely. Definitely.
take us to the growth when you began the first book, your short stories, and then when you began this book. What kind of growth did you see in yourself, and how did that help in writing this book?
So very, very, very good and valid question. One, I was not scared of writing different kinds of characters. In Stars from the Borderless Sea, the characters were more or less, they had different stories, but they were more or less the same age and demographic. In terms of being urban, slightly mature people. In this book, first of all, yes, they are urban. It is an urban setting, contemporary setting, but these people are much younger to me. So to
Hmm.
be able to recapitulate a friendship, recapitulate how they would talk and how they would behave, that itself was a challenge. I mean, if you're writing suddenly, and now there's a generation gap every 2 years, right? I mean, our children think we are outdated and stuff. So that was, I was more confident about writing people who are different from me, whether
Hmm.
it is writing a person with a different kind of sexuality, whether it is writing a person with a different career, or a
Hmm.
person who is a different in age. I was more confident about trying that
Hmm.
than I was the first time. And then, of course, you do learn. I mean, when I read the drafts of stars, the drafts which never even made it to publication, they're like terrible. So, so you learn, you grow your own writing, you learn to cut down a lot of redundant stuff. You feel like with this book, I started feeling I've already said this, so I need to delete it. I started deleting a lot of extra words like she said, he said, so all that kind of thing. You grow without realizing it. So that is definitely there. Uh, that happens.
Yeah, so cutting down on the fluff, I think every writer understands it only with their each book, how important it is, right? Because initially when we are putting down our first work, we are like, हाँ ये तो अच्छा ही है मैंने लिखा है मैं कैसे काट सकती हूँ? You are very attached to your writing. Oh no, I can't read this.
And you want
But
everything to be there, like every
yeah,
description. And then you have to you realize if it's not moving the story forward, it has to go. You can't keep
yeah,
it there, like you said, just because you're so emotionally attached to it.
yeah,
So that
exactly. हाँ और मैंने इतनी मेहनत की है, how can I delete it? I mean, it deserves some validation.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so coming to my next question, what were the conscious and unconscious steps you followed as a writer while writing short stories versus writing a novel? And was there a change in the schedule that you followed for these two?
So, conscious was this only that there was much more stress in terms of energy and time given to plotting, in terms of timeline, the plot, the characters. I sat down and etched each character. I used pen and paper for the thinking process.
Oh,
So, like each of them had 2 pages, and I write with multicolored pilot pens. So each page,
hmm,
Anya had a page. So what do I want her to be like? What do I want Roy to be like? I needed that much more clearer in my head than I did with a short story, because in short story you can get away with some things. In a
hmm,
long form, your readers invested so much in your book, in your characters, they have to feel, and then there'll also be so many more situations in a long form which your character has to respond to, right? So you have to have him much more clearer. So
hmm,
I did a lot of that happened where I was just sitting with the story, outlining it, thinking about it. Short stories are probably more organic; they flow. Although they do, as I said, they need a structure and everything has to be in line. But they can be more organic. Here, you need an outline, at least a brief thing about the people, even if not the, minute by minute. So that was there. Schedule was not related to short and long form. It was related to the fact that the first book came out when the world was in lockdown, and the
hmm,
second one I was writing when the lockdown had opened and life was in full swing. I was
hmm,
zapped. I could not find the time to do it
hmm.
because there were these little pockets of time which all of us got in the lockdown because there's nothing else to
Yeah,
do, and I was
correct.
also less tired because you weren't doing anything.
Yeah.
This happened. This happened when the world was back with a bang. I
Right.
totally like flabbergasted about where to find the time from. So this was written with less of a schedule, with
Hmm.
structure for my time. Whenever I would get the time, I would, work on it. So
Okay. Now, another interesting thing that you just said was about having situations in a novel which are, longer. Take us through how that, how do you do that? And I also want to talk about characterization because you said there is more character development and you put in more time into that. So take us through that also. How did you uh, differ those characters from these?
So characterization, I think characterization you need to do for both.
Hmm.
We should not go away with the impression that in short stories you don't need to characterize, because
Hmm.
the depth of your character will come through. But you
Hmm.
can do it at a more subconscious level. and you can do it
Hmm.
as you go along. But
Hmm.
with a long form, you have to have the people you're writing about pretty clear in your head.
Hmm.
Even things which will not make it to the
Yes.
book, like their backstories and how they happened and how they became the kind of people they are today.
Hmm.
So that is about the characterization and about about how you put the plot and the outline. Again, a short story is basically, and a short story has fewer characters. It has fewer
Hmm.
people in it,
Hmm.
So even if there is some area of some aspect which is lacking, you
Hmm.
can build on it as you go along.
Hmm.
But in a long form, what you need is to have each one's arc complete, even if they are not the main protagonist.
Right.
Like in the book,
Right.
if you've noticed that all of the three, their parents also have their own arcs.
Yes.
And they are also coming to a conclusion, they're coming to a point in their own stories. So that has to, you can't leave any
Huh.
person just there for the sake of being there.
Hmm.
It's not, that is not going to work. Whereas those people simply won't be there in a short story.
Huh.
So,
Correct. Okay, so that brings me to the end of my questions for you. Now, before I give the stage to you, I'm going to read out a few passages. Okay, we had some issue. Shalini, so I'm extremely sorry. I think there was some issue at Shalini's end. Let me invite her again. Hi, Sanjukta. Thank you for joining. Uh, my guest Shalini had some issue and she had to leave because of some reason. Let me invite her again. Okay. Uh, I don't see her in the audience also. Extremely sorry for the delay. I'm just going to invite her and see if we can start continue with the episode. In the meanwhile, if you have any questions for me and me or Shalini, please feel free to ask in the comments. We are talking about both her books and how her journey and transition from a short story writer to a novel writer has been. She was sharing some tips with us how she differentiates the writing between the two forms, and she was sharing some very good tips. Do stay connected. Extremely sorry for the delay. I think there is some issue at Shalini's end, and she should be with us in a few moments. Okay, till the time she comes, I'm just going to read out a few passages from her book. Uh, I have highlighted a lot of the bits from this book, and I'm going to read out one of the highlights. Before I do that, let's just look at the cover. This is the cover of the book, The Way Home, and it's a very beautiful cover. It shows three people on the cover, and as I was mentioning when I was talking about the book, it's a story about friendship more than love, and these three are the lead characters, and they are friends. Okay, Shalini is here. Let me invite her again. Yes, Shalini, I've just sent you a fresh invitation. See if you can join. Hi, welcome back.
I'm really, sorry, I don't know what happened except that Insta is playing funny again. Uh,
Yeah, I think there was some connectivity issue, I guess.
yeah, but now it's again not letting me invert my camera. So I think we'll just have to do this again. I'll try and join again. Is that
Yeah, yeah.
okay?
Yes,
'Cause I
yes.
don't think, yeah.
Do stay connected. There is some issue with Instagram as always. It is showing up some glitches. Shalini will be back with us in a few moments. Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay, Shalini, I've sent you an invitation again.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, but I can't see you.
Oh my God.
I am.
Insta's really not being a friend today, right?
No, Amisha and
We'll have to let it be like a
yeah,
Natkat Bacha then, right?
yeah. We continue.
Yeah.
I'll just confirm with the viewers that yes, okay. Sangeeta has confirmed that she can see you. Okay, then we continue like this. It's okay. Okay. I am going to read out from the book. Okay. This was one of the chapters that I really liked. Uh, it is chapter number 11 and it's the surgery. It goes like this. Anya loved the OR too. Choosing between surgery and emergency medicine had been a tough call for her. She found the thrill of piecing together clues to make a diagnosis as interesting as solving a mystery, and this had tilted the scales in favor of her becoming an emergency physician. Still, she would sometimes feel nostalgic for the air of anticipation and dramatic vibe in the OR. The luminescent lights, glistening metal instruments in gleaming sterile trays, and the rows of equipment made the OR a unique experience. Many of her teachers had used the term Operation Theatre for the OR. It did seem more appropriate given how the place was a stage for the most difficult procedures. After all, each case was a performance, a symphony of actions of so many people, events, and things. No matter how many rehearsals were done, it was the moment of truth when the patient was wheeled in, and there was no scope for retakes, edits, touch ups, or computerized imagery. It was as real as it could get. She began to scrub. Inside the OR, Roy was sitting on a rotating stool in the corner, already scrubbed and gloved. He was again imagining himself on the football field, this time preparing for the clincher penalty shot. The crowd was cheering loudly, but the sound faded out. He saw only the ball and focused on the goalpost. That was the similarity between football and surgery. Both had an urgency about them and needed quick action. But the paradox was that the action could have desired impact only if it had its roots in practice, analysis, and strategizing. What happened on the fields and on the operating table was a result of all that had been internalized during hours of practice. On the field, it had been just him and the ball. Here, it was just him and the patient. Nothing else counted. Time, task, thirst, troubles all had to be left behind. Surgery demanded concentration and observation so intense that he could pick up warning signals from a silent patient, that he could be alerted to creating innovative solutions if they were needed. I love the comparison that you have drawn between football and the surgical room. And I was like, wow, who would ever think that?
Thank you.
And the detailing that has gone into explaining how Anya feels about the OR room, and then the shift to how uh, Roy is prepping himself up for the surgery. That was like how you made the shift between the two point of views was also one of the things that I really admired.
Thank you.
We had a lot of hearts coming in when I was reading because I was so engrossed in the reading I could not pay attention. Okay. We have a question from you from Sangeeta. Would you like to answer that? She's asking you, are the characters based on someone you know?
These two characters, Sangeeta, these two characters are based on a lot of people I know. Uh, because they're primarily doctors, and that's a question that Manali also had. I started writing this book when like I said, it was the second wave of COVID, you know. So that's when I started writing it. So
Hmm.
all I could see around me were doctors. I mean, anyway, I'm a doctor, but that's when it hit me even more. So, you know, each thing actually that they did, each of their troubles and their difficulties was very relatable. So it's not
Hmm.
one person, but it is sort of the entire medical community around me. You know, because I experience that every day. I meet them every day, but here I was sitting, coming back home and writing
Hmm.
what I've seen. So that way. So not one person, definitely.
Okay. I think Nilsi had also said something. I am just scrolling up. Please hold the book.
Yeah, I'll
I will take a
get that
screenshot.
for her. I did that. You can't see me, I think. I can't see you, by the way. But I did that for Nilshri. Thank you, Nilshri.
Yeah, we're just talking to walls right now.
A talking wall, talkative wall.
Yes, right. Sangeeta is saying thank you.
Thank you,
Salute to
Sangeeta.
the.
Thank you so much.
Yes, definitely. I also have two doctors in the family, and a salute, definitely a big salute to the indomitable spirit of the
Thank
doctors, and
thank you so
especially considering how hard you worked and selflessly you worked during the lockdown.
Thank you.
All of it, the entire community. So, yeah, huge respect. Okay, so that brings me to the end of my questions that I had for you. I leave the floor open to you now. You
Oh,
have
thank
also read my
you
books.
so much. Yeah, I had the pleasure of reading Heartstrings and Harmonies. So I love the tagline, by the way, a symphony of emotions. I didn't put that in the review. I wanted to say it here. That is so cute. I mean, the word symphony is so beautifully fit out there. So I also am a total Hindi movie music buff. Totally.
Oh,
So I don't need to tell you that, more than the stories, I think I kept on reading the songs two times and humming them in my head. So I have this question based on that. So, although I just said that I'm a huge fan of Bollywood music, if someone asks me, kya sunna hai, or, what's your favorite, I'm totally blank,
huh.
completely blank. Us samay I will not be able to come up with some song that I like, and then when it plays on FM, I'll be like, yeah, I love this one. So how do you decide? How do you keep making a list of songs that you will want to use in your books or stories? How do you compile these and decide which songs to use? So that's my first question for you.
Okay, so uh, music forms an integral part of all my books. I also, it was
I
brought
know.
to my notice recently because in the novels that I have written, even there I have a song for every situation almost.
Yeah.
And then I wrote a poetry book where, I have suggested that, each poem should go with this particular poem.
Okay.
So and in this, like all the 29 stories are weaved around a song, and the lyrics of the song are also like very, very intricate to the
Yeah.
what's happening in the story. So to answer your question, no, I don't make a list of the songs like on the go, but while writing. So I'll talk about my amalgamation of music into my novels first. So for novel writing, what I do is I do it on the go. Like I write the particular scene or the particular chapter first, and while writing, if a certain situations feels like it could have a song. For instance, in one of the chapters in my novel, Love and Melodrama, they are talking about Holi, and I begin the chapter by talking about that song. That
Okay.
do me a favor, let's play Holi,
Yeah.
and they make a joke out of. So with novel writing, it's like it happens as per the scene or the chapter that I'm writing during that time. But for this particular book of short stories, what I did was I have written each story based on a writing prompt that I received from the community.
Oh.
And with each prompt that I came across, I would either first think of the story
Hmm.
and then of the song. Situation based मुझे फिर song search करना पड़ता था, right? Once
Yeah.
I had the prompt and when I had the story in my mind, I would either have the song in my mind right away, like, but that's not possible. You are not an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
but then I would Google that is particular session mein what song would go. For instance, if I was doing a story on friendship, I would search for stories on friendship. I would search
Oh,
for songs which would match with that particular relationship or a situation. And thankfully, we have Google at our fingertips, and we have such an active music loving community online now. I was surprised that there exists an answer for each type of musical query that you might have. So I was fortunate in that manner that whenever I was not able to think of a song to match the story that I had in mind, I would turn to Google, and then I would have a particular list of songs, and then I would match कि अगर ये story के साथ अच्छा जा रहा है, I would also look at the lyrics of that particular song, and then if those lyrics would match the situations that I wanted to put in the story, I would pick that song.
Very
But with some
interesting.
stories, it was the other way around. With some
Okay.
stories, when I looked at the prompt, I immediately knew कि मुझे ये song चाहिए, and then now I will weave the story around this song. For instance, the very first story that I wrote for this particular book was ये शाम मस्तानी से inspired वाला story.
Mhm.
And for that prompt, the prompt was write a story inspired by your favorite song. And immediately I knew that, I want to use this song, Ye Sham Mastani, and I want to write a story which, would be a good bridge like thing between three generations.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it was dependent on what kind of prompt I received and whether I thought of the story first or whether I thought of the song first.
That's actually very interesting because, like I said, a lot of time you're thinking, but you can't remember the song and, you can't, remember the words. And it's nice to have Google around to help you with all that.
Yeah.
So, on that, my next question is actually exactly the question you asked me.
Hmm.
The difference in process between long form and short form and poetry. Also, not just the process. Is there a difference in your state of mind? Like, sometimes you want to go deeper, so you start
Hmm.
writing a full long form book. And sometimes, we're just in a very, in a mode where, theek hai, life is going okay and
Hmm.
everything's on the surface. So, does that happen or no? Or is it a more conscious decision to choose short stories over long form?
For my debut novel, I always had this motivation. Motivation tha, but inspiration lacking tha when I wanted to do my debut novel. So you understand, right?
Yeah,
I wanted to do
yeah.
it, but idea नहीं है कि क्या करूँ, inspiration नहीं आ रहा है.
Most of the time, it's the other way around, but we all have our own problems.
So that particular story came to me in a dream. And, it was only with that book that I learned the difference between short story writing and novel writing. It was
Okay.
like learning on the go for me. Because usse pehle I had only written micro tales and flash fiction and poetry, of course, which I have been writing for over 20 years now. So वो तो completely different है, उसमें experience बहुत है, so I'm never worried about writing poetry.
Okay.
Like, there's not a conscious effort that I have to put into poetry writing. It's very effortless for me, touch wood for that. But yes, poetry writing में मुझे ऐसा, like, consciously बैठ के सोचना नहीं पड़ता है कि, अब आइडिया आएगा मुझे, क्यों नहीं आ रहा है, मोटिवेशन नहीं है.
I get it. It flows. Yeah.
Yeah. So between short story and novel, what I have learned over the process of writing two novels and three short story collections is that what works for me is that having an idea of three things. One is the number of words or the number of pages that I want to write.
Hmm.
Clearly defined होना चाहिए मेरे लिए short story में कि हाँ maximum 5 pages or maximum 10 pages. That's it. And then the
Okay.
second one is number of characters that I want to put in the story. That has to be clear. क्योंकि novel में तो, as you said, you have to have more characters and each character has to have a purpose or,
Yeah.
a closure of sorts by the end of that novel. And
True.
the third one for me is how many scenes do I want to put in that story.
Okay.
Novel में तो you can go chapter wise. I mean, even with each chapter you have multiple scenes. But with
Yeah.
short stories, it is like कि तुम्हें क्या important क्या दिखाना है. You can't show every scene that is happening around the characters. So the number of scenes is limited. So you have to decide in your mind कि story कहाँ start हो रही है, कहाँ खत्म हो रही है, and how many scenes do you want to put into that story to justify that ending and
Yeah.
the beginning and the end. So these are the three things that I have learned over the course of my own writing.
Well, I think that's very useful. That's a very comprehensive way to put it. I think all of us go through it, but we don't put it like that to ourselves even. So very
Yeah.
useful. Yeah. So for me, it was very difficult to, pick a story. And the reason for that was because I kept on getting lost in the songs. So,
Okay.
I would be like, so I don't know whether I'm picking out because of the story or because of the song, but whatever is it, it's working.
Okay.
So, I don't think you expected, such a someone who's equally in love with Hindi music,
No,
Hindi music to,
absolutely no,
pop up.
not. Yeah, I'm very, very happy to see someone who's equally excited about the songs in the
I love
book.
Bollywood music, old, new, all of it. So anyway, so this is With Dreams in My Eyes, I've left from home.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a favorite song. Again, it was very difficult for me to choose because I'm an SRK fan,
Hmm.
and then you picked, songs of SRK also, but I finally went with this one.
Hmm.
So, Manzil nahi hai anjana, anjana hai karwa. I'm not going to sing because my children will throw me out. That's very difficult for me not to sing, but I want to live in my own house, you see. So I'm a terrible singer. Yeah, Nishri is also, pepping in with the song. So, मंजिल नहीं है अनजाना है कारवां चलना अकेले हैं यहाँ तन्हा दिल तन्हा सफर ढूंढते तुझे फिर क्यों नजर. I'm not reading the English translation. Shreya
No.
felt, Shreya felt a gentle tap on her hand. Hastily, she wiped the tears as her eyes jerked open. It took her a few seconds to find her bearings while looking around. That's when her sight fell on the figure standing in front of her bus seat. The crow's feet and twinkling eyes were a straight contrast to her frail figure. Is the seat taken, my dear? She asked Shreya, pointing at the adjacent seat. Her soft voice had such a melodious tinge that Shreya found herself wondering how the woman must have sounded in her youthful days. Shreya shook her head and immediately looked out of the window. She then plugged her earplugs back in, clearly indicating she wanted no further interaction. The slight chuckle from her now co-passenger's mouth didn't miss her. Soon, however, all worldly sounds were drowned out as the lyrics of the song washed her over once again. दिलकश नजारे देखे झिलमिल सितारे देखे आंखों में फिर भी तेरा चेहरा है जवान कितनी बरसातें आई कितनी सौगातें लाई कानों में फिर भी गूंजे तेरी ही सदा. In a few seconds, her reverie was broken one more time with a tap on her left palm. She sighed and gulped down her irritation. Mustn't forget my manners, she reminded herself as she opened her eyes and turned to look at her co-passengers. Her smile was one of concern which her sheer displeasure go down a notch further. Reluctantly, she removed the earplugs because it was clear that the woman wanted to engage in conversation. She'd expectantly continued to gaze at Shreya's face, her eyes oscillating between Shreya's ears and the headphones dangling onto her chest. So I read this because, this, not just the song, this last thing, that's me. That's me with my children. I keep looking at them expectantly, waiting for them to take those headphones off. Of course, the story is also beautiful, but I'm not giving any spoilers for the story. But that's not like me. I'm like the old woman at home waiting for the kids to listen to me. And they're just about
Oh,
as irritated with me as Shreya was.
I'm sure all the mothers that are listening to you right now, they'll be like, yes, yes, yes. हमें भी हमारे साथ भी होता है. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for reading out that particular story. While you were reading, I was also recalling so many things that, why I chose this particular song, how I went about writing it. So thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so do we have any questions from the audience that we have not yet addressed? If not, we'll go to my favorite bit of the episode, which is the rapid fire round. Do you see any questions?
No, I don't see any questions. So,
Okay. Okay. So how we'll do this, Shalini, is I will ask you one question and then one question you ask me. Okay?
done. Done.
So my first question to you is, if you could go back and make The Way Home your debut book, would you do it, and why or why not?
No, I won't do it. And I won't do it because somehow that would mean that I don't have all the love that Stars from the Borderless Sea got, and all the love that I got because of that book. And that love is really important to me, and I can't imagine being a writer without it. Each person who picked up that book, who read it, who reached out or didn't reach out, each person who just gave that book their time.
Hmm.
That love is what made me write the next one. So, no, it has to be the way it was. I can't imagine my life without having that kind of support from my readers.
Wonderful. Great answer. Yeah. Yeah, I think makes sense also. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so, my question for you, do you listen to music when you're writing? And when you were younger as a student, did you listen to music when you were studying?
Oh yes. So I am going
I
to
knew it.
answer the second half of the question first. Uh, yes, as a student, I used to listen to music. There was a reason for it. I was living in a PG with many girls, and there was always some or the other noise going on in the background. So to distract myself from the sound that was going on in the real world, I had to plug in the earphones to help myself concentrate on my studies. So yes, that was I think one of the early things that led to my love for music.
Love this. Love this.
And while writing, not generally, but if a particular lyric or a passage from the song is coming up in the story, and I need some inspiration to write the following or following scene or the scene before the lyrics are coming into play, yes, I do play the song.
Okay. Lovely.
Okay, my next question to you is the one best difference or growth you have noticed in yourself from the first to the second book.
I am. Uh, I'm less worried about each. I mean, negative reviews don't affect me as much as they did. I don't know whether this is good or bad, but the first book taught me that my books, my words will, people will relate to my words in very different ways,
Hmm.
not necessarily how I want them to relate to it. And the
Hmm.
second book is teaching me that it's okay, that's fine. My words will take on a life of their own, and not everyone is going to take away what I wanted to say. And that's
Yes.
perfectly fine. I mean, of course, not perfectly fine always, you know what I mean, you're a writer.
Yeah.
But I'm learning to understand that each person relates to the world that we've created in
Hmm.
their own way
Hmm.
as a writer.
Yes. That really makes sense. And yes, that's a sign of growth. I also took a little while, but now I am like, हाँ ठीक है उनको नहीं पसंद आया तो क्या ही कर सकते हैं. You can't force someone to like your
Yeah,
work.
and it's not just Pasand, it's also what they take away. Like, there were two, three people. Anil is my favorite too. But
Hmm.
there were two, three people who were explicitly like, this guy is so, boring and he's so privileged. And I was like, okay, that is one way to look at it. I mean, he is doing nothing because he has the privilege, right? So it's fair enough. So it's
Yeah.
taught me to be more, take a 360-degree view of the character that I've created.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. Your turn.
So my question to you,
Hmm.
do you sing? Are you a singer yourself?
No. No. No.
And
I'm
if
not.
yes, no, sure,
No. Sure. Yes. Very sure. I don't
okay,
sing.
okay, okay.
Interpretation of readers. We have Sukana saying that
Yeah.
agreeing to our viewpoint. Okay. My next question to you is which character from The Way Home did you relate to the most, or which one was in the most inspired by personal experience?
So I think that would be Neil's mom. I mean, although I wasn't
Okay.
as stupendous a student as she was,
Hmm.
but being a regular contemporary urban professional, managing her home, managing her family, managing her career, trying to do everything, trying to understand her kid without judgment. I think that's a lot of what I am
Hmm.
as a mother, as a doctor, as a professional, as a family person. So I think it would be her. It's also easy to relate to her. I've shown her as a doctor, so that would be her.
Okay. And okay, so you related to her more, but what about the second part of the question? Any character that like so
Same
both the
character.
answers same character. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, your turn.
So my turn. Blogging or writing? Which one do you like more? Which one do you find more fulfilling?
Well, that's a tricky one, but I am going to say blogging because that's where it all began. And ultimately he continues to be that way, that because of I blog, I am able to come up with ideas for my next book, or I am able to communicate with the community where
Yeah.
they encourage me to come up with the next work. So blogging, I would say.
Lovely. I had a gut feeling you would say that, honestly. Because that connection with the community, I think, is what keeps a lot of us going, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, you're next.
Rochelle is saying that she loves our candid conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Okay, so my next question to you is, being a doctor yourself, did it help to write the lead characters who are doctors? Was this a conscious choice? And what other profession would you have chosen for Anya and Roy if not doctors?
So, like I was telling earlier when Sangeeta asked us, yeah, this book, these protagonists were conscious choices. As I said, I was deeply influenced by the COVID timeline when I created these characters. So, they had, for me, these two had to be doctors.
Hmm.
Uh, and it is easier, definitely, for us to write what we know. But
Hmm.
having said that, it's also sometimes becomes two things. One, it can become repetitive.
Hmm.
Second, sometimes, and I've seen this in a lot of people writing, not just doctors, when we're writing about corporate professionals, for example, or anybody, sometimes we tend to go too much into depth of these characters, leaving the others less attended to. So I
Hmm.
think that's something that we have to remember when we are, drawing from our professions.
Hmm.
It is easier. It comes more naturally. It's easier for you to visualize yourself there, both physically and emotionally. So
Hmm.
it is easier, definitely. And these two were meant to be doctors, but but having said that, the challenges that they're facing are universal, right?
Hmm.
They're routine people's problems. So if they hadn't been doing this, Roy would have continued being a football player, and
Hmm.
because I can just imagine him on the field. And Anya, I think I would have wanted her to be a fashion designer or a fashion entrepreneur or something. She just has that like classy vibe to her.
Hmm.
So, and I would have enjoyed reading about those careers to create those characters. So,
Yeah. Yes, I can also imagine the two of them having alternate careers, like you mentioned. Like, yeah, definitely Roy would have been a very good footballer, because considering how he is as meticulous he is as a surgeon,
yeah,
and the kind of concentration that he has and the discipline, yeah, he would have made a great football player. And Anya, I believe she would have been influenced by her mother
yeah,
in that particular.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, your turn.
So, in this book, which was the story which was most difficult to write in terms of A, story, and B, in terms of finding the song. I'm very mesmerized by the song thing.
Okay, I am just going to go to the table of contents of the book, because I
Yeah.
really have to think कौन सा song सबसे difficult था. I think My Footprints Are Your Companion would be the most difficult one. It's the song Aas Paas Khuda from what was the movie? Anjana Anjani. That was the song that was very difficult for me to match with the that particular story, because as I was mentioning earlier, this was one of those instances where the story came to me first, and I was
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
find a matching song to that situation. And there were so many songs related to this particular situation that it was difficult to narrow down on this particular song, because like that kind of grief that the lead character goes through, I think many of the Bollywood songs, Hindi songs, are existing in this particular genre. So
Yeah.
which one to pick was a little difficult. And
Problem of
coming to this,
plenty. Right?
problem of plenty, right? Exactly. And the second part of your question was,
It was the same basically, which was the most difficult to write. So,
uh, so difficult to write would be there were two, uh, the last story and the second last story. And actually all the stories in that particular segment of the book where I'm talking about loss and grief and how people, go through different stages of losing someone. I think all the stories in that particular segment were a little difficult, but the two that were most difficult were This Heart Says Live a Little, where I'm talking about a couple who have lost a son because of something and how they are both dealing with it. And the song for that is Jile Zara from Talash. And it was like so beautifully matching the situation. Because in the movie also we are looking at the couple who has gone through something similar.
Yeah.
So that is one that was a little difficult to write because I was not only reliving the movie and the impact that it had on me while I was watching it for the first time, because it's a really emotional song.
It is.
And the second one was I blindly tread this path where, I show a relationship between a father and a son. And in my experience, that's always been one of the most complicated relationships that I had to write about or I had to see in real life also. Because, you know, uh, the communication between a father and a son is always a little strained, I feel. And in this particular story, they lose the woman that brings them together, that binds them together, and how they are finding that bearing after having lost her. That was a little difficult for me to put into words.
But you've done it so beautifully, despite that, I must say. So,
Thank you
kudos
so
to
much.
you.
Okay, my last question to you. Imagine Neil passing out with. I imagine that Neil has passed out with flying colors after joining the course that he joins. Are we
Yeah.
allowed to give spoilers? No.
Let's not. I mean, it's okay. I think it's fine. Yeah.
So he joins a particular culinary course at a very
Yeah.
reputed institute, and I imagine him flying colors. They pass hota hai, wo top of the course and all of that, and he opens up a restaurant. Have you thought that where this restaurant would be, and what would he name it?
Um, what would he name it? I don't know. I'm terrible with names. I mean, getting the title for my books is a huge challenge. But I know where he would open it. He would open it
Okay.
right in Delhi. Yeah, right in Delhi, right where his parents live. Uh, Probably right near his dad's hospital because at Gurgaon, wherever he lives, because he's going to get his confidence back with a bang. I mean, all the stuff that he's run away from, he's ready to face it. So
Hmm.
he'll open it right there. He's not going to go away to some faraway place to follow his dream anymore. He's done that. Now
Yeah.
he's going to live the life that he wants in front of everybody because he's owning his choices. And
Hmm.
I really don't know what he'll name it. Maybe he would, go back to his days in Goa and take some inspiration from there to name it. But I
Hmm.
really can't think of a particular name right now.
Yeah. And that makes complete sense. Yeah, I had this idea in mind that maybe he was missing Roy and Anya so much that he would also go to USA and
Oh,
open a restaurant there to be with them. But no,
that's
what
a
you said
nice idea.
makes more sense. It makes so much more sense that he would do it in Delhi because he has got his confidence back and he wants to do it
Yeah.
in the city,
Yeah.
where he has grown up, and during that entire growing up phase he was very lost and underconfident and didn't know what to
Yeah.
do.
He's trying to run away from himself, run away from where he grew up. So,
Yeah.
the final step of owning your choices is that you're able to face all of that again, right? So,
Yeah, it makes complete sense. What was I thinking? Fully romanticizing it.
that's the thing with being a writer. You can take a story anywhere, na? So and everything is valid. So
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, but yes, your answer makes more sense. Of course, because you are the creator of the story. Okay, so do we have any questions? Harshali was here. Hi, Harshali. She's saying hi. Thank you for joining. Okay,
thank you.
Harshali is also saying that reading the book right now and finding the easy friendship, the star of the book.
Oh, thank you so much.
So Kenna has also said that Roy is so
Yeah.
good. I think, Shalini, you and I are the only ones who are going to love Neil more than Roy.
No. Okay, so given everyone enough choice, you can't blame me for that. We're all entitled to have our favorites. I think Roy is a great guy too. I think, I mean, he's absolutely fabulous.
Definitely swoon worthy, and like, somebody I would have a crush on if I was working with him.
Yes. Yes.
Reading the book and loving the characters. Harshali Singh again.
Thank you.
So, Harshali, we would love to know who your favorite character is so far, because Shalini and I are of the opinion that Neil is the best. And we have most of the viewers here who are saying that they love Roy more. Harshali is again saying that what a wonderful job you have done.
Thank
I
you so
agree.
much. Thank you.
Loving Neil. Yes, we have one more teen Neil. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's conversation. Thank you so much, Shalini, for joining me
Thank you,
one more
Manali.
time. Just
Thank you
like
so much for having me here. And thank you for putting up with whatever glitch happened. I still don't know what happened, but thank you so much. It's been an absolutely lovely session.
thank you so much. And
Thank you.
I am hoping to do this again. I want to see more of your books and read more of your books, so we can do this again.
I look forward to it.
Yes. Thank you so much,
Thank
everyone, for
you.
joining us. And bye. Have a great weekend, Shalini, and everyone else.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
everybody. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.